start to this season.
Coach Ryan Day will join us later this hour. Jim, let's start with you. Expectations have always been high at Ohio State. Do you recall them ever being as high as they are now?
Well, probably 2022, 2023. I mean, every year. I mean, right? They want to win a national championship, and that's the kind of program Ohio State is. And, that hasn't changed since Woody Hayes was here. I mean, they want to win a championship each and every year. And, certainly now with a 12-team playoff, the opportunity to get in that playoff was a little bit easier, so to speak. But you still got to go out there and win games. And, we know one thing, 11-2 is not good enough because that's happened the last 2 years for these Buckeyes. So, they're on a 2-game losing streak right now. I still got a bad taste in my mouth from that Missouri loss and certainly from the team up north. So, they get a 7-touchdown favorite against Akron Zips in a couple of weeks. So I know that they're looking forward to getting out there and start playing some games again. But, yes, expectations are high.
Same question to you, Paul.
Skip, in 2006, based on the way this team finished in 2005, going into Troy Smith's senior year, the year he won the Heisman, there were a lot of expectations. And also way back to 1998 when this team was a preseason number 1, the first year of the BCS. But as Jim said, they're always high expectations.
First year is Paul Keels, the voice of the Buckeyes as well.
That's right.
The landscape has changed so much with NIL, the expanded CFP, conference realignment. Question to both of you, which do you think will have the greater impact on the college game this year?
Well, NIL's already had an impact on Ohio State when you bring in a guy like Caleb Downs, Will Howard, 2 great football players, and, just across the board taking care of the guys to stay here. Guys like Travion Henderson who kind of gone on to the NFL. Emeka Ibuka could have gone. Jack Sawyer, guys like that all decided, hey, I'm going to come back here. And then again, I feel I understand them. They haven't got a pair of gold pants. They haven't taken care and met all their goals. And you don't want to leave here without, taking care of all the things and crossing them off the list. And so there's some things out there that they haven't accomplished that they're going to come back and do. But NIL's been good, and, certainly that 12-team playoff is going to be interesting. But we're still going to be complaining about the 13th, 14th, 15th teams that didn't make it in there. That's just kind of the bottom line, how this works. But, I think if you punch your ticket, and, certainly last year Ohio State at 11-1 would have made it.
Which will have the biggest impact, Paul?
I think the NIL, which also goes hand in hand with the transfer portal, it allows the players to stay that could have gone, Jim, as you mentioned, but it also allows you to fill the spots with Quinshon Judkins, with Caleb Downs, with Will Howard.
Real quickly, before we head our first time out, offensively for Ohio State, who will have the biggest impact in you guys' mind? Quarterback, wideouts, running backs, O-line, or Chip Kelly?
I would say Chip Kelly, but it's easy to say quarterback because what we anticipate with Will Howard and any of the other quarterbacks is a running quotient that was not there previously.
I'm going to say, obviously Chip Kelly, I think it takes the pressure off of Ryan Day. Now he can just be the team coach, but also Quinshon Judkins. He's a guy that can come in here, and you saw what he did at Ole Miss. He's a 1,000-yard rusher, led the SEC. He's a guy that coming in here takes a little pressure off of Travion Henderson. Both those guys can remain fresh. And, last year, Travion Henderson just had 130-some carries. Usually Keith Byers, my senior year, had 336, so had 3 times that workload. He can share that workload, and both those guys can be fresh at the end of the year when we need them to play their best football.
Same for the flip side on defense. D-line, linebackers, or secondary?
I got to think the secondary. When you think about the big playability, adding a guy like Caleb Downs, with what we know Denzel Burke can do, and the pleasant surprise that you got from those young defensive backs, Matthews and Hartford last year. Yeah, there's a lot of question or a lot of curiosity about filling those linebacker spots because it was Eichenberg and Chambers forever, it seemed like. But that seems to be a big play back end, possibly.
I'm going to go with that defensive line. They need to dominate each and every week. Jalen Tuimoloau has to play like he did at Penn State each and every week. Jack Sawyer has to continue to play like he did the last couple games. And then, inside, Ty Hamilton, Talik Williams, those guys have to be dominant. And then the guys behind them, because we are going to rotate guys in. They have to go out there and play great. And if they play great, the linebackers look good and the secondary looks good.
Jam-packed show for you this evening. Ryan Day will join us. Tim May. We'll go around the Big Ten, visit with some of Paul's counterparts around the league. George Blaha, Gary Dolphin, Jerry Allen, voice of the Ducks will join us. Greg Sharp, Steve Jones, John Jansen, and more. So all that and more coming up later this hour. Tonight's show, as well as all of our Buckeye Roundtable shows, shows throughout the season will also be available on our flagship station's YouTube page. Just search WBNS Radio, and you can view the show live or afterwards each week. Again, search for WBNS Radio on YouTube for that. Ohio State and Akron in the season opener August 31st at Ohio Stadium. We'll be on the air with the AEP Energy Buckeye pregame show beginning at 2 p.m. Coming up, we'll start breaking down Ohio State's schedule game by game, beginning with those Akron Zips next as our season kickoff show continues.
You are listening to the Season Kickoff Show, presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready?
It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right. Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles. From biking to bench presses, Milk's protein helps you build lean muscle and gain more from your workouts.
Ready? Recover. Repeat. Brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
It's Toyota's National Sales Event, the perfect time to extend your summer fun in the all-new, all-hybrid Camry. Now through September 3rd, choose 5.25 APR financing on any new 2025 Camry. Or you can lease a Camry LE for $319 a month for 36 months with $32.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS, tax, title, and license extra. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details or go to toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
AgPro has been family-owned and operated for over 64 years. We take pride in developing long-lasting relationships and offering first-class customer service. Need a new tractor, parts for your used equipment, or reliable service? AgPro has you covered. AgPro is here to serve you and your operation as your hometown dealer. Visit us today at any of our AgPro locations or go online to agproco.com to get started with your AgPro experience.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offers a variety of options and pricing that will meet your needs. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour of Ohio Stadium today.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
And welcome back, everybody, along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels. I'm Skip Mosic. A reminder from the American Dairy Association Mideast, 8 ounces of delicious chocolate milk has 8 grams of high-quality protein with the power to fuel everyone, from elite athletes to weekend warriors. Our season kickoff show continues. Ohio State opens the season a week from Saturday against Akron. Guys, the Zips really struggled a year ago, just 2-10 overall, 1-7 in the MAC. If you're Ohio State, what are the main things you're focusing on, and I guess in what should be a very overmatched opponent?
Well, let's remember, too, they lost 3 games by overtime, one of them at Indiana. So they were close to being better, but it's team that statistically was better defensively than they were offensively. And, Joe Moorhead, who spent time at Penn State as an offensive coordinator, he's an offensive guy. He's a guy that certainly has the acumen to get things going. So, as you said, Jim, I think, what is it, a 7-touchdown spread or something like that?
Yeah, 50 points.
But it's an in-state. Now, remember, this was supposed to be Southern Mississippi. Right. They switched the opponents here for whatever reason. But, we always talk about it, and maybe it's just talk, but in-state opponents, you never know.
Yeah. Akron was in the MAC championship, Jim, in 17, but really they've struggled since. Moorhead's a good football coach, but, 5 touchdowns, as Paul alluded to, by a touchdown or less, and they really probably could have beaten Indiana.
They should have, but they didn't. And, you look at Joe Moorhead, and you would think that their offense would be better because, again, that's kind of been his bread and butter. But, he's there in his third year, his first 2 years. He's, 4-20, so back-to-back 2-10 seasons. Trying to find that quarterback like everybody is in the MAC. If they're good, they end up transferring out in the portal and, go out there and make some money. But, they got Taj Bullock, who's competing. They brought in from Cal, Ben Finley, a guy that's a pretty good football player, but still, you got to go out there. Last year, they just averaged 16 points a game, and they gave up 28, so that's got to change. But, with that defense, I think there's 8 starters back on that defense, led by C.J. Nunnally, who had 7 sacks last year, and he's a guy that they're expecting some big things out of him. So they have a couple players, and I guess if Ohio State wants to find out about this team, we'll talk to Billy Fessler, because Billy was, the assistant coach for him, and, before he went out to UCLA, then with Chip Kelly, and then back here at Ohio State, as a quality control coach or a offensive analyst.
Back-to-back MAC opponents to start the year, as Western Michigan will be here in week 2, as Lance Taylor begins his second season with the Broncos, 4-8 a year ago, 3-5 in the MAC, and I know they had higher expectations.
Much higher. And Skip, they changed both coordinators, so that's been kind of a challenge. And from a lot of accounts, they've struck out in trying to get pieces in the transfer portal, like a lot of these MAC programs have done. So they probably figure to be even a little more undermanned than what Akron will be, possibly. Yeah. They open against a Big Ten opponent at Wisconsin.
I think they're set at that quarterback position. Looks like Hayden Wolf will be the guy. He had some starts last year, 4 starts. He had 8 TD passes, a couple rushing touchdowns. So I feel like, they got it. And then they got, 2 all-MAC performers on that offensive line. So they have some parts to that team. And, hopefully they can go out there and have a little bit better year. Defensively, they got Roberson's back. He had 68 tackles last year as a linebacker. I believe his number last year was number 4. We'll see if that's still the case this year. But, he's a guy that, you have to find out where he's lining up.
In this new world that college football has become, how can conferences like the MAC even begin to compete against the power conferences, especially as far as the NIL? There's no way.
That's the hard part for them. But, Skip, the door is open for the MAC and for the Mountain West and some of these others, because in the new playoff scheme, there is an opening for the Group of 5. Highest-ranked Group of 5 team gets a bid into the playoffs. So, when there were years where, the Boise States or whoever got left out, somebody from the MAC, if they're able to run the table and look impressive doing it and stage some big upsets, there is that opportunity in this 12-team field.
No, every year there's a lot of great players that come out of the MAC that make it to the next level.
And but
but you almost got to look at this now as, like a 2-year program, where you develop them, you play them, and then you got a chance, with the NIL to lose them. Now, certainly they can compete a little bit, but they're not going to be able to get the big dollars of the Power 4 schools that are out there. So, I think when you look, again, the MAC, they'll find some players, they'll develop them, they'll get them ready, and then, hopefully they can retain some of those guys.
We'll talk Marshall next segment, but we jump ahead now to week 4, the first conference game of the season, as the Buckeyes head to Michigan State. Paul had a chance to visit with George Blaha, radio voice of the Spartans.
Well, George, after last season and everything that happened as far as Spartans fans were concerned, I'm sure they were glad to flush that year and get on to a new season with a new head coach.
Well, Paul, I don't know how best to describe it other than a train wreck. And so, of course, you want to move on. And the Spartans were looking for a new coach, and I believe by far the best hire was going to be Jonathan Smith. And because the Pac-12 didn't include his beloved Oregon State Beavers, he figured if he was going to move on, now's the time. But here's a guy, I think anyway, Paul, that was able to do over the years kind of what they say about some great coaches. They could beat yours with his and his with yours. The guy's an X's and O's guy. They got a plan. They know how they want to attack people, and he brought some interesting guys with them from Oregon State. They've transformed this roster in a way that really surprised me, maybe even shocked me. They have players now in East Lansing. This is not going to be the little sisters of the poor when people tangle with Michigan State this year.
You know, it almost seemed like, and then looking at the list of all of the Oregon State transfers that came there, George, this almost reminds you of some of those old NHL days where they would switch franchises and switch ownerships.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it? But the tight end, Jack Velling, is a young man the pros are very excited about. He's 6'5" and about 250. Out of the Seattle area. And the center, Tanner Miller, 6'2" and about 300 from down in California, are two of the most important guys that came in for Michigan State, along with, of course, the quarterback, Aiden Childs. The Childs kid played in almost every game. They gave him snaps last year as a backup quarterback. So he doesn't come in all inexperienced. The guy has looked comfortable at practice, and he's 6'3", 215-ish, and he can move and seems to have a heck of an arm. And Michigan State, like Ohio State, generally has a great group of receivers. I mean, you look at some people's receivers and you wonder how they complete any passes. But at Michigan State, we've always had good receivers, and they have a young kid named Nick Marsh, a true freshman from River Rouge, Michigan, who already looks like one of the best players on the team, and he's still 17 years old. He's 6'3", about 210. And veteran Montori Foster and another veteran out of the wide receiver, Lachey Brown, who transferred from Nebraska. They've got wide receivers, and now they got somebody to throw it to them. Nate Carter's a very good back. Kid who transferred in behind him. Let's see, is K-Ron Lynch Adams, as if I recall, from UMass, is also a very good player.
So do you get a feeling of what this offense is going to look like, George?
It's going to look like a pro offense. You know, a lot of under center, but still ready to challenge you all over the field. I mean, they want to make the pass look like the run when the play starts, and that's been what Brian Lundgren, their offensive coordinator, has tried to do. By the way, he was a quarterback himself, of course, played at Idaho. A lot of West Coast flavor on this team, but I think they're acclimating well to the Midwest, and they know what they're up against in the Big Ten. And by the way, they had two guys who will play on Sunday at defensive tackle leave in Simeon Barrow and Derek Harmon. Barrow went to Miami, Harmon went to Oregon, but they've reloaded along the defensive line. I think the D-line's going to be pretty darn good, including a transfer from University of Oregon, Greg Roberts.
Well, I was going to go there next, George, and in this particular asking about Joe Rossi, who's got Big Ten roots as a defensive coordinator. What do you envision there?
Well, you know, he's going to stop the run, and the defensive back coaches are saying we can't let him concentrate too much on the run, but he's so good at stopping the run that it will be somewhat difficult to run against these guys. They have people now inside. They really do. Alex Van Sumeren was a big-time recruit from Bay City, Michigan, weighs a little over 300 pounds and good athlete. Injured before, but now he's fine. And there'll be enough guys to play in there. Maverick Hansen, who was the last Mark D'Antonio recruit left on the squad, came back for his sixth year. He's 6'4" and about 320. So they have a couple of veteran tackles, but they have some other guys, Daquan Dowse, who transferred in from Georgia Tech, and a guy would be on my all-name team, Quindarius Dunnigan, from Middle Tennessee State, as a great pass rusher. They're happy to have him as well.
George Blaha, Spartan Radio Network. Boy, he went through almost all of them. 23 transfers for MSU with so many new faces. Is it just kind of wait and see how these guys all gel together?
Oregon State East is what it sounds like it's going to be. And, you know, really, Skip, any incremental success is an improvement. Remember, by the time they came to Columbus late last year, with everything that happened with Mel Tucker, that was, as George said, a train wreck and then some, considering all the off-the-field problems, injuries. But can they go back to playing like Mark D'Antonio did?
Boy, the rise and the fall of Mel Tucker. And, we know Mel. I like Mel a lot. But, boy, just, had those issues off the field. And, where he's got one of the largest contracts a couple years ago, at Michigan State. And, now he's out of a job. So it's going to be with Oregon State not, getting into a major conference, so to speak, into the Big Ten or to the Big 12. Now they're, a lot of their players hadn't followed their head coach, Jonathan Smith, and they'll contend because he's a good football coach, as you guys talked about. He can find ways to win.
Ohio State again will be at Michigan State September 28th. Coming up, we'll talk Marshall and Iowa as tonight's season kickoff show continues.
More of the season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast coming up on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
At Bob's Discount Furniture, when you find a complete dining set that seats 6 and comes with an extendable leaf for only $5.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a sofa that doubles as a chaise, and a bed, and storage like my Playscape for only $9.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a queen mattress with world-famous Bobapedic memory foam and an 18-year warranty like my Treasure for only $7.99.
Oh my, Bob.
Well, there's only one thing to say.
Oh my, Bob.
Bob's Discount Furniture, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
When you've been diagnosed with heart or vascular disease, where you start your care makes all the difference.
When you choose the Heart and Vascular Center at The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
Our team of specialized experts will manage your condition day to day.
And should you need more advanced care like complex heart or vascular surgery,
you'll never need to travel farther.
You didn't choose heart and vascular disease, but the choice of where to treat it is clear.
The Ohio State University Heart and Vascular Center.
The drums bang, the flame sparks, the trumpets blow, the hot dogs sizzle, the crowd cheers, the fans eat. The sounds of Buckeye football are synonymous with the best damn band in the land in the stadium and the Weber Grills outside the stadium. Weber is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. To celebrate another season, Weber is launching a limited edition Ohio State grill, inspired by our Buckeye helmets. Get the best damn grill in the land at Ohio area retailers near you ahead of the football season.
Atlas Butler offers the highest level of heating and cooling services.
Call 1-800-FURNACE.
Correct. They also offer superior plumbing services.
Call 1-800-FURNACE.
Exactly. Same number for plumbing. And with 24-hour same-day service, you can call them.
Call 1-800-FURNACE.
Whenever. Oh, and if you'd like to call Atlas Butler, that number is 1-800-FURNACE. You may have heard.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices. And when you download the Kroger app, you can enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. Plus, you can earn fuel points to save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. And with a Boost membership, you'll save even more with double fuel points and free delivery. So you can always save big every day with our savings and rewards. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Your home of the Buckeyes, the Fan. You're listening to the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Welcome back, everybody. Our season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels. I'm Skip Mosic. Week 3. Marshall will be here in town. It was 20 years ago, Paul, that the Herd gave Ohio State everything they wanted and
Mike
more.
Nugent, 55-yard game-winning field goal. And, here's the Jeopardy question. Marshall is in what conference? I didn't ask it right for Jeopardy, but they're about their third in the last 5 years.
East, right?
Sunbelt, yeah. But, here's the crazy thing. And Charles Huff, the head coach, they've been in the postseason the last 3 years. but they haven't really contended for a conference championship. So that's kind of the next step that their fan base is looking at them for today.
6-7 a year ago, really a tale of two seasons for them. Started off with a bang, including a win over Virginia Tech, and boy, the offense has kind of disappeared. Tons of turnovers for Marshall back into the season.
Yeah, and again, they're trying to find a quarterback, trying to find an identity on offense. If you look at their roster, they got a bunch of transfers on that side of the ball. Their new offensive coordinator is Seth Dagey, who used to play at Texas Tech. Had a stint with Bowling Green there for a while as a offensive assistant and a quality control type coach over there, and has done some good things. And now, he's going to be calling his own play. So, back then he liked to play fast. So we'll see if that's something he wants to continue. They brought a guy in, Braylon Baxter, out of Tulsa that they think can compete for the quarterback job. So we'll see if he ends up winning that. But boy, that 2004 game, you're right, it was down to the end. And remember, San Antonio Holmes had a career day, 10 catches, I think 224 yards.
That's right,
in that game, and a couple touchdowns. And like you said, we needed all of that.
Schedule kind of funky in that there's a bye week after the second game, so there'll be a bye week 3 prior to the Marshall game. Just kind of roll with it, and there you go. As mentioned last segment, it's after Marshall, it's a trip to Michigan State before returning home to face Iowa on October 5th. Paul had a chance to visit with Gary Dolphin, the radio voice of the Hawkeyes.
Well, Dolph, I'm sure you're like everybody else. We're all anxious to see what the Iowa offense under new coordinator Tim Lester is going to look like. Any clue?
Well, yes and no, Paul. I mean, a big piece of that is who's going to be the quarterback. Cade McNamara on the two deeps is listed as number one, and I know folks in Columbus and Ohio are familiar with Cade from his days at Michigan, but I will tell you that Brendan Sullivan, who jumped in the portal in the offseason, came over from Northwestern, who I really like. He's an RPO kid. He's got quick feet, and you know what? He's played a lot the last 2 years. Cade has not. So you can see the rust on Cade McNamara, but I like what Cade brings to the table. He's savvy, he's tough, and he can throw the football. But so they've got some nice options to choose from. Tim Lester, the guy threw for 11,000 yards and 87 touchdown passes at Western Michigan when he started there. So the guy knows how to go vertical. The question is, when you blend in Kirk Ferentz philosophy on what an offense looks like, how much will the Hawks throw? Well, they'll throw it more. There's no doubt about it. We'll just have to wait and see.
Well, and hopefully he'll have the targets. I know that certainly that was a little bit of an issue at times last year because of injury.
It was, and Caleb Brown, of course, who transferred in from Ohio State a year ago, will miss the first game. He's suspended, but when he gets back, he's probably their fastest wideout or their fastest receiver. Seth Anderson returns, the transfer from Charleston Southern a year ago. They've got a couple real young guys that they like, a kid named Bowie. Last name Bowie, and so the Iowa passing game is going to look different. What won't look different, what will look the same, is Luke Lachey, thankfully, is back healthy, and he looks great. He's running around like he never broke that foot a year ago, and that's a big plus. The Hawks are probably 3 or 4 tight ends deep again, so they'll run a lot through their tight ends.
Yeah, we know that's nothing new. Is having LaShawn Williams and Caleb Johnson, the tailback guys that we've seen before, is that something also that can be built on offensively, Dolph?
Yeah, they're about 3 or 4 deep at tailback, Paul. A kid that has really emerged. He really came on last spring, and Coach Ferentz really likes him. He's a little guy, 5'9", 190 pounds. His name is Kamari Moulton, and he's been getting a lot of the snaps here in fall camp. Certainly the Caleb Johnson and LeSean Williams. Now, LeSean's been beat up. He's not had a lot of reps this fall. They know what he can do, kind of like Jay Higgins at middle linebacker. They've been resting a lot of those guys on the sidelines. They know what they can do. We'll just have to see. But Iowa will use 3 backs, no doubt.
Now that you've transitioned for us to defense, Dolph, certainly with Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson, are those guys that Phil Parker can continue to build around on that side of the football?
Without question. And, they've really got a couple of bonus picks. There were, I think, a half a dozen guys that decided to come back that had that extra year, whether it be COVID or a medical or what, that they weren't they weren't figuring on seeing. I mean, Quinn Schulte's first year in dental school, and the safety has been calling the defensive signals for 2 years. He's back. Sebastian Castro, the All-American cashback, will be standing right behind Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson. Up front, they still have familiar names in Deontay Craig and Ethan Herkett, but they're real young and thin at the tackle. So they're continuing to develop the depth in the front line, Paul. But Phil Parker, it'll be the same look, just different bodies, mostly familiar bodies from a year ago. An Iowa defense that gave up, I think, 15 points a game. So they'll be solid again, and that will be the tail that wags the dog.
Well, we heard the cry all the way from Iowa City to Columbus last year about punting is winning. Is it the hope now, especially that a new punter will be doing those chores, that the Hawks won't have to rely on the punt that much, Dolph?
Well, hopefully not. I mean, Reese Dakin is the heir apparent to the incomparable Torrey Taylor. I see he averaged 48 yards a punt and 2 or 3 kicks for the Bears the other night. And the difference is Reese is 19. I think Torrey was 23 when he came in from Australia. But they did go to the same school, the same punting camp. He's got a lot. He looks a lot like Torrey out there, but he's not Torrey yet. And he's had an up and down camp like most first-year kids. But let's hope the Hawks can depend more on their offense this fall, Paul.
Dolph, what's kind of the feeling around there, and at least from you also personally, about this new Big Ten with the West Coast influence that we're going to see as part of these schedules?
Yeah, that's a great question, $1 million mystery question. I think without the divisions now, you need to finish first or second to get to the Big Ten championship game. But with the new playoff format, I think Iowa considers itself one of the wild card dark horses. Potentially, the schedule lays out nicely for them. They've got a great home schedule. Washington comes to Iowa City. They do have to go to UCLA. They do have to go to Minnesota to open the Big Ten, and obviously they have to come to Columbus. So, with me, it never changes, Paul. Win your home games and pick off a couple on the road. You get to 9 or 10 wins, and hopefully this year you probably need to get to 11 to be considered for a wild card. It's doable, especially with that Iowa defense, but it's kind of a wait and see for everybody. It's a brand new era of college football, and NIL and transfer portal, all that mixed in, certainly going to be exciting times.
Gary Dolphin, radio voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes, and he alluded to it. You look at that schedule, make note. No Michigan, no Penn State. If they can get that offense figured out, you have to figure they have a chance to be there at the end.
They have to be better than they were last year, and I think Tim Lester kind of brings some, with his shifts and motions and the type of personnel they have coming back and experienced offensive line, they got a chance to be better.
Coming up, we'll hear from Coach Ryan Day as tonight's season kickoff show continues.
You're listening to the Season Kickoff Show, presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
As the official hot dog of Ohio State athletics, Sugardale is dedicated to delicious. Whether you're cheering on the Buckeyes at the game or grilling at your home tailgate, you can count on Sugardale to score a touchdown. Made right here in Ohio for more than 100 years, Sugardale has always taken a personal approach to making great-tasting, high-quality meats. Look for Sugardale hot dogs, bacon, ham, and more at your local grocery store.
What do football and finances have in common? The team you play with makes a big difference. Credit Union of Ohio is your financial team to help you save and spend like a winner. Whether you're looking to make a big purchase or find ways to build up your savings, you'll always work with a team player at Credit Union of Ohio. Navigate your next big money play easily through Credit Union of Ohio's website at cuofohio.org. That's cuofohio.org. NCUA insured, equal housing lender.
Ready? It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right. Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles. From biking to bench presses, Milk's protein helps you build lean muscle and gain more from your workouts.
Ready? Recover. Repeat. Brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
At Toyota's national sales event, you can choose from more hybrid and all-wheel drive vehicles than anyone else, including the best-selling RAV4. Now through September 3rd, choose 4.99 APR financing on a new 2024 RAV4 or RAV4 Hybrid with approved credit through TFS. Excludes RAV4 Prime Or you can get a great lease deal on RAV4. Plus, you get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Get details at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Hey Columbus, looking for the perfect day trip? Head to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. Dive into football history, see legendary players, and enjoy interactive exhibits. Fun for the whole family. Visit ProFootballHOF.com for tickets. The Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, where it's always football season.
For more than 35 years, Hyde Park Prime Steakhouse has been known by Buckeye Nation as serving the best steaks in the city. Our thick-cut, aged steaks have been a staple in Columbus with 3 locations in Upper Arlington, Dublin, and downtown. Hyde Park is proud to introduce our newly added wine room at the downtown Columbus location, where a new elegance in dining will surround you. And coupled with live entertainment every weekend, Hyde Park will be the perfect setting for any occasion or the perfect night out. Hyde Park is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State athletics.
Welcome back, everybody. Our season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, along with Paul Keels and Jim Lachey. I'm Skip Mosic. We're joined for a few minutes now by Coach Ryan Day. His comments are presented by Kroger. And, Coach, I guess take us through this last week for your team before you get into your regular game week routine beginning next week.
Yeah, it's the week before game week. Guys are out of the hotel. They got out after our scrimmage on Saturday. And classes start tomorrow. So we'll start to transition from practicing in the morning to practicing in the afternoon. Today's kind of our last full day. I just got done with a team meeting. Got a special teams walkthrough now, meetings, and then walkthrough, and then those guys will be done. And then next time we'll see them will be at 2:30 tomorrow.
Coach, you mentioned that with the scrimmage on Saturday, that was going to be a test run in some manners for the helmet communication. Just a little of how that went and how that's something you're going to have to monitor during the course of the year.
Yeah, there was 2 parts. There was the tablets on the sideline, which are pretty straightforward. Each series we're able to go over and watch the previous series on a tablet, which actually was, again, pretty straightforward. The player-to-coach communication is a little bit different. There's a lot that goes with that. It turns off at 15 seconds, and so, depending on the tempo of where we're going, we have to communicate, what we're doing either through signals or through, the helmet communication. So I'm glad we got a test run at that. We'll do that again on this Saturday.
Coach, you actually had a tablet timeout during your scrimmage, just to kind of, when you're playing against each other, you have to kind of, it's the only time you get a chance to really break that down. And for anything, the coaches almost got too much information, right? I mean, you're sitting there looking, you're breaking this down, you get it by series. How much are you going to depend on that?
Yeah, well, it gives great feedback, instant feedback. And, yeah, we carved out a couple TV timeouts just so that I could get some feedback from the coaches on, the operation of it. TV Sport was here. And you have to bring it over and upload it in between the series and then bring it back. And then you can kind of make mini cut-ups based on the plays that you're trying to set aside. So I just wanted them to, get their hands on the tablet and, get a feel for what that would look like on the sideline, the players, where they're going to be sitting. And so we did that a couple of times, during the scrimmage. But no, I think it's going to be a positive. I really do. I think, it just allows us to get great feedback. But I've been told that, if you take the tablet and show it to any of the referees, there's going to be a penalty. So we have to make sure that it's staying on the sideline.
Coach, you mentioned they turn the helmets off at 15 and the communication off at 15. Now, we've seen in the past, the play clock either starts too quickly or in some cases just incorrectly. Is it more important now than ever to monitor that stuff?
Yeah, it's something I'm going to be all over and try to be as helpful as I can, with Chip and with Jim. Just in terms of recognizing when that is, because there are some differences between the NFL and the college model. The NFL, has a little bit of a notification on when it turns off. That really isn't the case in college. So it's something we're going to have to be on top of.
How has the multiple fields, again, helped you with getting reps and making all the decisions you need to make, Ryan?
Yeah, we did that really for the first 4 or 5 practices. And, But then after that, we kind of went to one field, and I think you guys know we had a little bit of a virus going around the offensive line, so that kind of put us on one field early on, and then kind of stuck with it. There were some different things we did on 2 different fields to spread out the reps, but now we're going to start spreading out into scout teams now. So the depth charts are being settled, and now guys are going to have to embrace their roles.
Coach, how's the transition been for you, not calling plays? With Chip kind of handling that role.
Yeah, it's been great to see some of the ideas that Chip's brought to the table, and obviously with his background of what he's done, and we haven't been together now for almost 8 years, and so he's done some things differently, and we've done some things differently. So it's been good to collaborate. He's always done an unbelievable job of calling plays and getting the plays in, and he is embracing our language, so it is a new language, and so we're going to be there together talking it over. But as you know, a big part of the game plan is really putting the game plan together as a group, and then once it's on the call sheet, all that work has been done to install it. Then it's a matter of executing it on the field. So we'll be very organized with that and try to do a great job of communicating. But it's been great to see some of his ideas come in, and when you've been together with a group of guys for as long as we have on offense, everyone kind of sees it the same way. A different perspective and a fresh outlook is always healthy.
Coach, if you would take us a little bit through the process of deciding on captains and the Block O being awarded to Cody Simon.
Yeah, it's the captains are voted on by the players and the team every year. We have 2 different periods where we vote on our leadership committee. One is before we start our winter work in February, and then after spring ball before our summer workouts start. And that allows our team to see some of the leaders on the leadership committee in leadership settings, and see how they actually do. And the same guys who are selected in the winter aren't always the same ones in the summer. So by the time it's about time to call or to vote for the captains, we've done it a few times, and guys have been in those situations. So our guys did a great job voting. I think they did a great job in their selection. I think Cody, Emeka, Trey, and Jack all represent Ohio State the way that everybody would expect. But the thing about this team is, there could have been about 8 to 10 captains, but we're happy that with the guys that were selected. And then Cody, really it was another difficult decision on the Block O award. It's something that Coach Mick and his staff really have a huge input on. I give my input as well, but in the end, felt like Cody really stuck out.
Coach, real quick, while you're scouting Akron, I mean, the first game's always a hurdle, especially with all the transfers that they brought in. How do you go about that?
Yeah, you try to do the best you can to identify schematically, the front and in the back end structurally, kind of how they like to go at it. You look at the coordinators, and so that's the first part. Personnel-wise is a little bit trickier. You go back and, we have personnel here that can get an idea of, some of their, size, speed, those type of things. And so, we'll go back and take a look at those things. But usually in the first game, we're really trying to focus on is our fundamentals, knowing that they could come out in a bunch of different things. So, we want to make sure that, we're not getting over scheming in that first game and really focused on taking care of the football and playing really hard.
Buckeye Coach Ryan Day, we always appreciate your time. We'll chat again next Monday, okay?
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks.
Coach's comments presented by Kroger. Kroger Pickup is the easy way to get what you want right when you need it. Try Kroger Pickup today in the Kroger app or at Kroger.com. Coming up, we will chat with longtime Ohio State beat reporter, now with Letterman Row, Tim May, as the season kickoff show continues.
More of the season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, coming up on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
At Bob's Discount Furniture, when you find a complete dining set that seats 6 and comes with an extendable leaf for only $5.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a sofa that doubles as a chaise, and a bed, and storage like my Playscape for only $9.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a queen mattress with world-famous Bobapedic memory foam and an 18-year warranty like my Treasure for only $7.99.
Oh my, Bob.
Well, there's only one thing to say.
Oh my, Bob.
Bob's Discount Furniture, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hi, this is Paul Keels. This Buckeye season, don't let a broken windshield ruin your game plan. Safelite Auto Glass makes it easy to get your windshield fixed with their mobile glass shops all over Central Ohio. They can come to you anywhere, giving Buckeye fans more time for game time. OH? Man, I love that. Schedule at safelite.com. Safelite Auto Glass is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
It is time to square off against overpriced family dinners with Donato's all-new bakery crust pizza. A square-cut, thicker bakery-style crust with smoked provolone cheese and Donato's fresh toppings, plus your choice of marinara, ranch, or garlic sauce for dipping. The crust is thicker, but the deal is the kicker. Right now, you can get 2 one-topping bakery crust pizzas for just $19.99. It's a whole lot of pizza for not a lot of dough. Order with the app or at donatos.com.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offers a variety of options and pricing that will meet your needs. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour of Ohio Stadium today.
Your Ohio State flagship station, The Fan. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Buckeyes are known for paying it forward. That's why Buckeyes Care strives to serve the betterment of our community by positively impacting families across Ohio. Joint partners American Electric Power, Donato's, Kroger, the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the James Cancer Hospital, Huntington Bank, and WBNS TV in Columbus in supporting this cause at ohiostatebuckeyes.com/Buckeyes Care. And welcome back, everyone, to our season kickoff show. Along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels, I'm Skip Mosic, joined for a few minutes now by Tim May of Letterman Row. And, Tim, we mentioned this earlier with the fellas. I mean, you've been covering Ohio State football for such a long time. Expectations are always high, but do you get the sense that they're higher this year than they've ever been? I guess why or why not?
Yeah, I do, because, I mean, there are all kinds of reasons, of course, not the least of which is the roster that Ryan Day and company have put together. Not the least of which is the still ongoing 3-game losing streak to Michigan. Not the least of which is it's been 10 years since Ohio State won a national championship. And, if you're not going to get it done this year, when are you going to get it done? I mean, there's all these reasons why the fans are kind of over the top. I mean, I can remember, obviously, seasons in the past when there were great expectations, not the least of which was probably 1998. That was a hell of a football team. 2003, after they won the national championship in 2002, you had everybody back, but then you had the Maurice Clarett situation, which kind of took the edge off of that. In 2015, when you had so many guys back, they ended up getting drafted in the 2016 draft. But one upset that year flipped the apple cart. So there have been a lot of years when there have been great expectations, but this is the latest for sure. It might be the greatest.
Tim, is just a Big Ten football question in general. Bigger playoff field, bigger stakes. Is this got the potential for the worst teams in the Big Ten to be worse than they've been in a while?
You know, Paul, that's a good question, because I've got Gary Danielson. I did a little interview with him during the Big Ten Media Days. Got him on my podcast this week, and we were kind of talking about how, you know, the top of the Big Ten has risen to the occasion, meaning Ohio State, Michigan getting it done last year. You know, you think about it, Ohio State won the first college football playoff 10 years ago, and Michigan won the last one, and they both beat Alabama on the way to it, right? But then you've got maybe Penn State, maybe a couple other teams, but you got the new teams coming in from the Pac-12, not the least of whom are USC and Oregon, and then Washington, of course, played for the national championship last year. But boy, you go into the Midland part of the lineup pretty quickly when you get to the Big Ten, and that's what's missing really when you start comparing it to the SEC, because the SEC, whether people like or not, it's got pretty solid programs. You know, about 8 or 9 deep when you start digging into it. I'm talking about programs that, with a player or two, could really jump up and make some noise this year. And you got to figure the Big Ten has got Ohio State, possibly Penn State, but then you got Oregon, Michigan. You know, I think Michigan's going to be a little bit down, but the point is, we'll see what happens with all their investigation stuff. But then Washington is definitely rebuilding. USC, I don't know where you put them in the realm of things. So when you go compare the SEC to the Big Ten, the depth is more in the SEC, but the elite in the Big Ten, Ohio State and Oregon, I think this year could line up and play with anybody.
Tim, Ohio State's always had such great wide receivers, especially the last 5 years. Brian Hartline coaching those guys up. We saw a little bit of Carnell Tate. Obviously, we know all about Ibuka and what he's able to do. But then you bring in a guy like Jeremiah Smith, and I know you got a chance to see him those first 4 practices. Just your general impressions of that group.
Yeah, and the one we got to watch the whole practice with them actually playing some football, Jim, was fun. My impression is people are sleeping on Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
That's my impression, because this time a year ago we were talking about Carnell Tate, being the guy that could really rise, and especially in the bowl game. And, of course, then we saw that abomination that was the Ohio State offense in the bowl game, so that took care of that. But yeah, I think people are sleeping on Carnell Tate because, we were pretty much talking about him in a lot of respects, like we were talking about some of these other guys. And, Emeka Egbuka, he might be you could put his name in the hat for one of the elite receivers in the country this year. Definitely on the Ohio State team. It was really funny because I remember writing a pregame story before the spring game. Hey, this is a chance for everybody to come out and see this phenomenal freshman, Jeremiah Smith, right? Well, then all of a sudden, Emeka Egbuka makes the biggest, most spectacular catch in that game. So you're right. I mean, the depth is still kind of stupid. Some of it's a little bit unproven, as we well know. I mean, Brandon Ennis was banged up during the spring. There's a guy that can really jump up. Kojo Antwi is a guy who's just stuck around and may get the big payoff this year, getting to play a lot. And Bryson Rogers, was going to leave, but he opted to come back, and he's shown himself in the spring and then definitely in the preseason. So, yeah, you're right about the depth there. I mean, the depth there, and at running back. At running back, they could use maybe 1 or 2 more guys, but the top 4, boy, they could pretty much play anywhere.
Tim May, fans around the state can check out your work at LettermanRow.com. Tim, we always appreciate it. We'll touch base next week, okay?
It is always a pleasure being on with the 3 wise men.
All right, so Coach Cooper will be the 4th joining us coming up next Monday night. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll talk Nebraska. We'll talk Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, and Michigan. But next up, one of the most anticipated conference games upcoming is the October 12th trip to Oregon. We'll hear from Jerry Allen, radio voice of the Ducks, next as our season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast continues.
What do football and finances have in common? The team you play with makes a big difference. Credit Union of Ohio is your financial team to help you save and spend like a winner. Whether you're looking to make a big purchase or find ways to build up your savings, you'll always work with a team player at Credit Union of Ohio. Navigate your next big money play easily through Credit Union of Ohio's website at cuofohio.org. That's cuofohio.org. NCUA insured, equal housing lender.
For more than 35 years, Hyde Park Prime Steakhouse has been known by Buckeye Nation as serving the best steaks in the city. Our thick-cut, aged steaks have been a staple in Columbus with 3 locations in Upper Arlington, Dublin, and downtown. Hyde Park is proud to introduce our newly added wine room at the downtown Columbus location, where a new elegance in dining will surround you. And coupled with live entertainment every weekend, Hyde Park will be the perfect setting for any occasion or the perfect night out. Hyde Park is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
Atlas Butler offers the highest level of heating and cooling services.
Call 1-800-FURNACE.
Correct. They also offer superior plumbing services.
Call 1-800-FURNACE.
Exactly. Same number for plumbing. And with 24-hour same-day service, you can call them.
Call 1-800-FURNACE.
Whenever. Oh, and if you'd like to call Atlas Butler, that number is 1-800-FURNACE. You may have heard.
During Toyota's national sales event, you can choose from more hybrid and all-wheel drive vehicles than anyone else, including the family-size Highlander. Now through September 3rd, get any new gas-powered 2024 Highlander and get $1,000 APR cash or $500 on Highlander Hybrid when financed with approved credit through TFS. Plus, every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, 2 years no-cost maintenance. Get details at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Now, the officials have been talking for quite some time.
All righty, let's see what they have to say.
Upon further review, there is no penalty on the play. However, we have conferred and discovered that Bob, the line judge, has saved a boatload for his kids' college using Ohio's 529 plan. It is tax-free, accepted nationwide. Bob recommends we all go to collegeadvantage.com. First down.
Well, that's not entirely unexpected.
Classic Bob.
It is time to square off against overpriced family dinners with Donato's all-new bakery crust pizza. A square-cut, thicker bakery-style crust with smoked provolone cheese and Donato's fresh toppings, plus your choice of marinara, ranch, or garlic sauce for dipping. The crust is thicker, but the deal is the kicker. Right now, you can get 2 one-topping bakery crust pizzas for just $19.99. It's a whole lot of pizza for not a lot of dough. Order with the app or at donatos.com.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars, Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. The Fan. Sports Center.
And I'm Timmy Hall. We start with hockey. The trade is done. The CBJ are sending Patrick Lachey and a 2026 second-round pick to the Montreal Canadiens. In return, they get defenseman Jordan Harris, who's been in the NHL for 3 seasons. We go to football. These Buckeyes, they have a huge season coming up in 2024. It starts Saturday, August 31st. We got one more hour of our OSU season kickoff show coming at you. Some of the highlights of the schedule. First road game, I should say, is September 28th at Michigan State. The week after, on the 5th, they take on number 25 Iowa for their first ranked opponent of the season. Then the big one on the 12th at number 3 Oregon. It's at Penn State on November 2nd. And that Michigan home game on November 30th. Breaking sports news on The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Hey Columbus, looking for the perfect day trip? Head to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. Dive into football history, see legendary players, and enjoy interactive exhibits. Fun for the whole family. Visit ProFootballHOF.com for tickets. The Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, where it's always football season.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offers a variety of options and pricing that will meet your needs. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour of Ohio Stadium today.
You're listening to the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State athletics.
And welcome back, everybody, into tonight's season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels. I'm Skip Mosic. Tonight's show, as well as all of our Buckeye Roundtable shows, will also be available on our flagship station's YouTube page. Just search WBNS Radio, and you can view the show live or afterwards each week. Again, search WBNS Radio on YouTube for that. Well, no doubt, one of the most anticipated games for Ohio State this season will be October 12th when Ohio State heads to Oregon. Paul had a chance to visit with Jerry Allen, the longtime radio voice of the Ducks.
Well, Jerry, first and foremost, welcome to the Big Ten for yourself and the Oregon Ducks. What's kind of the feeling about the people out there in the Northwest about coming to the Big Ten Conference?
Well, initially it was shock about the Pac-12 folding, although it, technically is still open with the two schools. But, yeah, disappointment, really sad about it. And then the realization that you're going to the Big Ten, and gosh, there's a lot of history, a lot of pageantry. And, we used to sit on the West Coast when those early games were played and watch the Big Ten play. So a lot of history there. And then people kind of didn't forget about the Pac-12, but started looking forward to the Big Ten and the matchups. And now all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're in a – not to say that the Pac-12 wasn't a big conference, but we feel like we're really in a big conference now.
Certainly. There's a lot of adjustment involved in it, Jerry, but is the fact that there are three other Western schools kind of tied to the Oregon's move into this conference, does that create a little bit of comfortability, if that's the right thing to say?
Yeah, I think that's huge. It's not like jumping up and going up by yourself and having no family beside you. It's in Washington, it's a huge rivalry. UCLA and USC together, it's like you're taking part of your family and going across the country. And so, yeah, there's a lot to having those schools join together and make the move at the same time. I think there's a comfort zone in that.
Jerry, what's kind of your take on the influence that Dan Lanning has had since coming into the program as the Ducks head coach?
Pretty remarkable. I've been fortunate to have some really great coaches here. Mike Bellotti, who, I'll go back to Rich Brooks, who got Oregon to the Rose Bowl in the 94 to the 95 Rose Bowl. It's been forever since Oregon had been in the Rose Bowl, and he got the program to that level. And then Mike Bellotti elevated it to a national championship level when they should have played Miami in 2002 or 3, I think it was. And then Chip Kelly, took it to another level. Dan Lanning's just different. He coming from Georgia, he knows what big time physical football is about. He knows what defensive football is about. And I've accused him of having a photographic memory. I don't know if he doesn't, but he just seems to see everything and everything. And he's got a personality that's really easy to adjust to. He's an aggressive, energetic, get things done to the detail, leave nothing undone. And there's just something about Dan. My biggest issue, I guess, is trying not to overhype him. He's got to prove it. They got to get to that level and win at the national championship level. But I think he's the guy that can do it.
Jerry, we know that there's some excitement about Dylan Gabriel coming to Eugene as a quarterback, but is that even heightened by the potential mesh with he and the offensive coordinator, Will Stein?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, we went through this, a couple of years ago when Bo Nix came out. And joined Oregon, and there was that association with his offensive coordinator. And to have a veteran, a guy that has a tremendous personality in Dylan, joining a coaching staff that gets him, understands him, and they know each other, it's huge. It's and Dylan's different than Bo. Bo was kind of quiet, great leader, but a very, comfortable in his own skin, not going to go outside the box and do anything silly or outrageous. And not that Dylan does. He's just not afraid to say, hey, He's got kind of a confident, protective swagger, I guess I'll say, because he's good. And he wants his team around him, particularly his running backs and his receivers, the skill position guys, to know that he will support them and do things whatever the way they want to. He's not bringing his style in here. He's going to adjust to them, and he's taken them on a couple of outings and paid for everything. And he's really become a member of the team and the staff in a hurry.
You know, in reading some of the preview magazines about the Ducks coming into this season, Jerry, there's some talk about how they really feel that what's happened with the front seven on defense is what's helped keep Oregon at a high level. Is that kind of a fair read from where you sit?
Yeah, I think so. I think probably, Mario Cristobal gets some of the credit for that, although his was more on the offensive line. But he brought in some big guys. And to be able to compete, you can spread the field and you can run around, but you got to have that meat up front when you're playing against tough teams. And in the Big Ten, that's exactly what it's going to be. And Dan Lanning, coming from Georgia, he knew what size and speed meant to a defense. And so Oregon has gotten bigger. And along with the size increase, they've gotten faster, quicker. I can remember the Ducks playing Ohio State in the Rose Bowl a few years back, and we matched up in a lot of positions, but the one position that Oregon did not match Ohio State was at linebacker. Their linebackers were big. We knew that, but incredibly fast. And I think Oregon has finally gotten to that level of getting big guys, but guys that have got some agility and speed.
For those Buckeye fans that are going to come to Eugene this season, Jerry, what's kind of a little of what you can tell them they can anticipate in regard to an atmosphere there at Autzen Stadium?
Well, it's pretty crazy for a stadium that seats, 59, 60,000. You wouldn't expect it to get loud, but I don't know if it's the configuration or if it's just the craziness of the fans and how much they love their football. But it is surprisingly loud and obnoxious. Lloyd Carr came in with the Michigan team a few years back, and Oregon upset them that year. And Lloyd Carr was quoted, and I don't know if he really said this, but it was on the wall of the locker room for a while. Autzen Stadium is where great teams go to die. So it's loud, it's fun, it's a compact stadium, and it's an enjoyable stadium. I think fans who come in and get to experience playing against the Ducks will enjoy the entire experience. It's not unlike Ohio State. When the Ducks went back there a few years back, that's just a tremendous atmosphere. I said the same thing about Wisconsin. I love that. I think Oregon will fit into the Big Ten in a really great way, in that their stadium and their noise and their exuberation and energy will fit into the Big Ten.
Jerry Allen, longtime radio voice of the Oregon Ducks. And guys, no doubt when you talk Oregon, you start with offense, and that looks to be the case again this year.
Yeah, they brought in Dylan Gabriel, which you guys talked about there in the interview. 6-year guy, came out of Oklahoma, and he's had a heck of a career. And then he's got a wide receiver, Tez Johnson, to throw to at 86 receptions last year and 10 TDs. But this is going to be a top 5 matchup if everything goes the way it's supposed to be. And really, this game is kind of determining if you're going to get a bye. If you're going to make the playoffs and if you're going to get that first game bye. And, that's what everybody wants if you do make the playoffs, to be in that top 4.
Paul, when Oregon came in here and won a few years back, Ohio State just couldn't stop them. We talked about the Ohio State offense last hour, but how important will that defense be, especially in games like this? And I guess, which defensive unit do you expect to be tested against an opponent like Oregon?
You would think probably with an experienced quarterback like Jim mentioned, the defensive secondary. But you remember what happened in that game in 2021. Oregon ran the same play, and Ohio State couldn't stop it. They ran the same play, and Ohio State couldn't stop it. So this is a team that would have been in a 12-team playoff last year, and a team that even with a loss or two, and it could be a year we'd see Ohio State and Oregon meet twice possibly.
Did you guys see the pictures of the floating duck that's went to almost every Big Ten city? I think that's pretty cool how they're embracing coming to it. I saw it at the Big Ten meetings there in Indianapolis. I welcome them to the Big Ten. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Paul, you alluded to it with the new setup and expanded CFP. Whoever loses this game is not necessarily out of it. You just have to be sure to not lose another one.
Yes, and it, like Jim said, is probably going to determine a bye.
Coming up, we'll take a look at the Nebraska Cornhuskers as the season kickoff show continues.
You're listening to the Season Kickoff Show, presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready?
It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right. Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles. From biking to bench presses, Milk's protein helps you build lean muscle and gain more from your workouts.
Ready, recover, repeat. Brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Bob Evans asks, who will be the superior side? Is it the rich, creamy, indulgent classic Bob Evans mashed potatoes? Or is it that decadent union of pasta and cheese, Bob Evans mac and cheese? Is it farm fresh potatoes blended with real milk and butter for that just like homemade taste? Or is it the melty, gooey goodness of tender elbow macaroni smothered in real cheese sauce? Both are ready in just minutes. So, which delicious side will you choose? Find Bob Evans in the refrigerated section.
At Bob's Discount Furniture, when you find a complete dining set that seats 6 and comes with an extendable leaf for only $5.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a sofa that doubles as a chaise and a bed and storage like my Playscape for only $9.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a queen mattress with world-famous Bobapedic memory foam and an 18-year warranty like my Treasure for only $7.99.
Oh my, Bob.
Well, there's only one thing to say.
Oh my, Bob.
Bob's Discount Furniture, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
In partnership with AEP, Donato's, Huntington, Kroger, The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, and 10 TV, Ohio State Athletics strives to inspire the community to make a positive impact on children and families in the great state of Ohio through our Buckeyes Care initiative. Buckeyes Care is dedicated to fostering a caring community. The goal of Buckeyes Care is to build a culture of care, one Buckeye at a time. Show and share your support in the community by using the hashtag Buckeyes Care.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Hey Buckeye fans, AEP Energy wants to know if you're ready to choose green and make an impact. Help bring 100% renewable energy to the homes and businesses of your community by enrolling in our low fixed price Eco Advantage plan today. Together we can reduce our carbon footprint and supply clean energy for a brighter future. Visit aepenergy.com/OSU to get started. AEP Energy, the official electricity and natural gas sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. AEP Energy is a competitive retail electric and natural gas service provider and an affiliate of Ohio Power Company, AEP Ohio. AEP Energy is not soliciting on behalf of and is not an agent of AEP Ohio.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Welcome back, everybody, into tonight's season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels. I'm Skip Mosic. Ohio State will have their second bye of the season following the Oregon game. Unlike in week 3, this one kind of makes sense, but at least the schedule does, Paul. Getting a week off following a long trip out west.
That certainly does. And, you know, a lot of people wonder about this. This is because of the number of Saturdays between Labor Day weekend and Thanksgiving weekend. So every now and then it comes up with there's 2 byes, but well-timed to be after Oregon.
After the bye, it's a home date with Nebraska on October 26th. Paul had a chance to visit with Greg Sharp, the radio voice of the Cornhuskers.
Greg, before asking about this season, got to backtrack a little bit and ask about some of the positive signs you saw last year with the Cornhuskers under Matt Rule. What went well that you noticed?
Yeah, there was a certain amount of discipline, I think, Paul, that the program needed, and Matt brought that to Husker football. Attention to detail. He's he's in on everything, wants every decision to run by his desk. I think that was good. This team hit the 5-win mark at the end of October. You thought for sure they would be going bowling for the first time in 7 years, but then stumbled down the stretch, made some critical turnovers in key spots, lost close games to Maryland, Michigan State, and Iowa, and failed to get to a bowl game. They've got to figure out a way to turn the turnover margin over. Paul, last year they were minus 17 in the turnovers. Kind of unbelievable that they won 5 games with that kind of a margin. They've got to fix that here this fall.
Greg, how big was it that Matt Rule was able to keep Tony White back, his defensive coordinator?
Huge.
Absolutely huge. And I know USC, they were in the market for a coordinator. They talked to him. I think UCLA talked to him. He's from the West Coast. I think that was big. Tony did a great job in year one, put together a top 20 defense. A lot of those guys are back. That should be a strength for the Huskers this fall. But I think Tony White, Paul, has head coach in the future written all over him. I think he will definitely be one of those guys we'll talk about maybe in the hiring season in December as a new head coach.
You know, the defense certainly seemed last year like it took some steps forward. Were there some particular areas, Greg, where you really saw that happen?
I really think front to back. They really had some good play up front, and Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmaker are 2 or 3 year starters now in this league. Really good along the defensive line. Got solid play at linebacker. And in that secondary, Isaac Gifford, whose older brother Luke played for the Big Red a few years ago and now off into the NFL, he was really solid as well. What that group needs to do better, they need to take the ball away more themselves. They only had 14 takeaways last year. That number needs to go up as well as the offense turning the ball over. So that's kind of the combination that I think Matt Rule is kind of hanging his hat on for better improvement here in 2024.
Greg, you've seen freshmen come in with a lot of expectations, but how would you compare the fanfare that is following Dylan Raiola to come to Lincoln?
Yeah, it's big, and I know Dylan was recruited by Ohio State, was committed for quite a while to Georgia, late slip in the process to Nebraska a couple of days before signing day in December. His dad was a terrific offensive lineman for the Cornhuskers in his playing days. I think he felt like his heart was here in Lincoln. He's handled the pressure very well, but he hasn't played a game yet. So he hasn't thrown a pass that hasn't been picked off yet. Those are going to come. He's going to have some of those mistakes. Now, he's not yet been crowned the starter. I think that's imminent, though, that he will be the starting quarterback for Nebraska. And now, you know, it's not all that uncommon. Adrian Martinez started as a true freshman at Nebraska and had a really nice career for the Cornhuskers. But this kid's pretty special. He can really spin it, make all the throws, and a lot's being put on his shoulders. But he seems to be a fairly mature young guy.
Safe to say that the offense is going to look different as opposed to what we saw with Heinrich Harburg and the rushing emphasis that was put on him at quarterback last year, Greg?
No question, unless Heinrich's in the game. Now, if Heinrich plays, I think they'll go back to some of those sets and formations with him because that is the strength of his game. But if it's Dylan, they got to throw the football. And I think they know they have to throw the ball better than they have to increase the offensive output. They've got some good wide receivers, went to the transfer portal, picked up a couple guys that should really help in that spot as well. So if Dylan's under center, yes, I think it looks different. If Heinrich is in there with an injury or something, I think it does kind of revert back to what we saw last fall.
You know, a question that really you can't answer right away, Greg, but has there been a little bit of sign of stability just in the time that Matt Rule's been there in regard to recruiting and just the attention that prospective student athletes are giving Nebraska?
I think so. I think he's given kind of just Nebraska that attention to detail, that maturity, the ability. He's done it twice where he's turned programs around at Temple and at Baylor, where he took bad situations and made them better. He's been adamant about this wasn't an awful situation, but it needed a reboot, and that's what he's given Nebraska football. And you know, I think a good goal for this team would be get back into a bowl game, get those extended practices, kind of lay a foundation for the trajectory of the program heading upward instead of being flat to down. So I think, you know, that's a realistic thing for Nebraska to hunt for here in the coming months.
Greg Sharp, voice of the Huskers. We know Matt Rule has had some offenses in the past, and Paul, you alluded to with Greg there. Is the quarterback Dylan Raiola the answer?
Well, you know what they need to get, as well as Raiola playing well, Skip? They need good fortune, because when Scott Frost was there, they had such bad luck with one possession losses. They kind of ran into some of that last year, but as Greg mentioned, getting to a bowl game, that is a major achievement for this program.
Yeah, I think it's also a big year for Matt Rule. You know, looking at his career record, he's just 52-50, you know, and he's making $9 million a year as a head coach in college football, you know, obviously a losing coach in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers. You know, you look back in Matt Rule, he played for Joe Pa at Penn State from 94 to 97, was a defensive back, grew up right there, born in New York, but grew up right there in the Happy Valley. So, you know, he understands the game, but just hasn't had the type of success that you would envision a guy like that having and still getting paid $9.25 million a year.
Speaking of Happy Valley, coming up, Penn State, Purdue, and Northwestern as tonight's season kickoff show continues.
More of the season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast coming up on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
The drums bang, the flame sparks, the trumpets blow, the hot dogs sizzle, the crowd cheers, the fans eat. The sounds of Buckeye football are synonymous with the best damn band in the land in the stadium and the Weber Grills outside the stadium. Weber is a proud sponsor of Ohio State athletics. To celebrate another season, Weber is launching a limited edition Ohio State grill, inspired by our Buckeye helmets. Get the best damn grill in the land at Ohio area retailers near you ahead of the football season.
Hi, this is Paul Keels. This Buckeye season, don't let a broken windshield ruin your game plan. Safelite Auto Glass makes it easy to get your windshield fixed with their mobile glass shops all over Central Ohio. They can come to you anywhere, giving Buckeye fans more time for game time. OH? Man, I love that. Schedule at safelite.com. Safelite Auto Glass is a proud sponsor of Ohio State athletics.
Safelite repair, Safelite replace.
In partnership with AEP, Donatos, Huntington, Kroger, The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, and 10 TV, Ohio State Athletics strives to inspire the community to make a positive impact on children and families in the great state of Ohio through our Buckeyes Care initiative. Buckeyes Care is dedicated to fostering a caring community. The goal of Buckeyes Care is to build a culture of care, one Buckeye at a time. Show and share your support in the community by using the hashtag Buckeyes Care.
They're trained. They're prepared. Let's do it. They're Ohio's undefeated plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling team. And they're here to tackle your problems. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
For more than 35 years, Hyde Park Prime Steakhouse has been known by Buckeye Nation as serving the best steaks in the city. Our thick-cut, aged steaks have been a staple in Columbus with 3 locations in Upper Arlington, Dublin, and downtown. Hyde Park is proud to introduce our newly added wine room at the downtown Columbus location, where a new elegance in dining will surround you. And coupled with live entertainment every weekend, Hyde Park will be the perfect setting for any occasion or the perfect night out. Hyde Park is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
When you need urgent care and you need it fast, where you go makes all the difference. When you choose advanced urgent care from the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, you're choosing an advanced level of urgent care led by Ohio State emergency physicians. We offer walk-in treatment for more serious illnesses and injuries such as broken bones, abdominal pain, and pneumonia, all with shorter wait times and less cost than an emergency department. When your illness or injury can't wait, the choice is clear.
Buckeye football lives here. The Fan. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State athletics.
A reminder from the American Dairy Association Mideast, 8 ounces of delicious chocolate milk has 8 grams of high-quality protein with the power to fuel everyone from elite athletes to weekend warriors. And welcome back, everyone, to our season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels. I'm Skip Mosic. As the calendar will turn to November for Ohio State, it's an 11-2 matchup at Penn State. And Paul had a chance to visit with Steve Jones, radio voice of the Nittany Lions.
Well, Stephen, thinking about Penn State going into this season, curious to know what the influence of Tom Allen is now as a new defensive coordinator, given his background in the Big Ten.
You know, it's interesting, Paul, because you and I have seen a lot of Tom Allen defenses. And even in games where eventually the score got to be a certain point, you always felt like Indiana's defense played really well. And he's got personnel, and to his credit, and much like Andy Koltonicki, the offensive coordinator, he's not a square peg, round hole guy. He's decided to take some things that he likes, but he's tailored it to the personnel that he has along the way. And they've taken Abdul Carter, and they've moved him from an exclusive linebacker spot to now being a defensive end and sometimes a linebacker. And I think that's been a big plus for him because now he feels he has a chess piece he can play games with against an offense. And again, his secondary, even though they had suffered losses in the secondary, Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, the secondary has a chance to maybe be as good, if not even a little bit better, because they've got a lot of depth back there.
Well, that was going to be the next question, Steve. Is the depth in the secondary as well as the depth on the defensive line something that can be a key component?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. They have a lot of depth at defensive tackle. They have 7 corners that can play. Now you got to go out and pick 4, maybe 5 out of that group to play. I know they've got 3 solid safeties. Now, to me, the question is finding that 4th and 5th guy as a just in case. And I think that's been a big plus for Tom, that he can work with personnel. And a guy like Jalen Reed, for example, can be a floater for him, not just a safety, but you can play him closer to the line of scrimmage. And when you have somebody with that kind of versatility, it gives a defensive coordinator more options.
You know, you mentioned Andy Koltnicki, the new offensive coordinator. What's the marriage with he and Drew Aller been like that you've been able to see, Steve?
It really works between the two of them. Now, they've been helped because Andy came here before the bowl game, so we got to know him a little bit. And, you know, you and I both remember, I'm going to use a basketball analogy. You and I both remember John Beilein's first year at Michigan. Mm-hmm. There was a certain way that John wanted to play, but you and I both know Michigan didn't have the players to play it. So he was doing square peg, round hole until finally, eventually, after a couple of recruiting cycles, he got some guys and they could play that way. Andy doesn't do that. There's certain ways that he played at Kansas that he won't be able to do with Drew Aller, and there's certain things with Drew Aller he could never do at Kansas. So he's really done a good job of tailoring what he likes to what Drew Aller does. Plus, Bo Pribula is at a really good training camp as well, and he brings a lot of options to the table that Andy likes.
Amongst all of the physical gifts that Drew Aller has, is his care for the football something that really makes him stand alone, Steve?
You and I both know, Paul, that turnovers drive coaches nuts. And when you're sitting there with a guy with 29 career touchdown passes and 2 interceptions, that's great because there's certain times where you've just got to get rid of the football and just live for another down. And I think he's been smart enough to do that. Now, do I think he's going to go through a season where he throws just 2 interceptions this upcoming year? Boy, it's really hard to imagine that in today's football. But his care for the football has been important. Now, you and I both know that in the bigger games, Ohio State's and games like that, he's going to have to play better. And now he's not a rookie quarterback any longer. The fact he is now a second-year starter, which means he's a veteran quarterback, I think makes a big difference.
Is there somebody that you can see emerging as a deep receiving threat for him, Steve?
Harrison Wallace, the third. We call him Trey Wallace around here. His problem has been he's been bumped up from time to time, so in and out of the lineup. He's now at a spot that between the spring and training camp, he has been able to keep himself on the field. And there's no question that he's been a guy that has been a go-to guy in the offense. He played really well. Liam Clifford's been another guy that's had a really good training camp. But Wallace, to me, has been the number one guy to look at. You hoped from a Penn State point of view that he'd be that guy to step up, and to his credit, he's done that so far.
Given the people they lost, is the offensive line one of the biggest questions going into the season, Steve?
I think they're going to play 8 offensive linemen, Paul. Drew Shelton's back, a guy who started as a freshman when Olu Fashanu got hurt. So he's back. Nick Dawkins, Daryl Dawkins' son, is now the center. Venga Ioane played a lot last year. Sal Wormley's a 6th-year player, 3-year starter. Anthony Donko and Nolan Rucci from Wisconsin. They got a freshman named Cooper Cousins that's going to play, and J.B. Nelson, who was a starter last year. And look, you don't have to hold your block a long time when Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen are back there.
Yes.
Let's face it, you're an offensive lineman at Ohio State. You got Travion Henderson and you got Quinton Judkins back there. Don't have to hold it that long. Watch them fly by. I saw 32. It was just a burst. Same thing here. I saw 10 go by. He seemed pretty fast.
Steve Jones, radio voice of the Nittany Lions. Favorable conference schedule for Penn State. No Michigan, no Oregon. You have to think that this game against the Buckeyes is huge for them, as it always is.
Absolutely, and this is a team that a lot of people think could be a non-Big Ten champion that would get into the playoff field.
Don't go to sleep. They got West Virginia to start. The first game of the year.
We know what that's like, first game of the year.
And that's obviously on the road there at USC. We don't know. And again, Wisconsin with Luke Fickell. He's going to develop those guys and become. But you're right. Probably Ohio State and then whatever Washington. They got both those games at home, so they'll have to kind of get some things. But I like the quarterback. Drew Aller, he was just okay last year, but he really took care of the football. He had 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He mentioned the backs, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. Just looking at their carries, Allen had 172 and Singleton had 171. So they're going to use both those guys, and they'll do it again this year.
Following Penn State return home for Purdue on November 9th, 4-8 last year. Expectations from the Boilers in 24.
Not good. They're the team that most people are picking to finish last in the Big Ten, but they've got Hudson Card back for a second straight year at quarterback. And, Jim, I think the interesting thing with Purdue will be to see how they adapt to what Ryan Walters wants their defense to look like, since that's kind of his background.
Yeah, defensive back, and obviously the coordinator at Illinois. He was, one of those guys that, you thought that their defense would be better, and it just wasn't last year. So you got to expect some improvement on that side of the ball. But the key is, do they have the personnel to take it to that next level?
November 16th is next, and a date with Northwestern at Wrigley Field. We'll talk about the Wildcats in just a moment. But seriously, how excited are both of you to call a game there at Wrigley?
A football game?
Yes. The Bears played there forever.
They did. A
lifetime ago. But
yeah, we're always concerned about where they're going to have us. Hopefully, we're not in the middle of the end zone, which is the fear. But
men's room.
Such an unusual situation. It'll be this way for a couple of years for Northwestern. They play their last 2 at Wrigley. They're going to play the rest of their home schedule in their made-up lacrosse thing right by the water. But what about the coaching job David Braun did last year? I read somewhere he's being referred to as the best ever interim head coach in the history of college football. Big Ten Coach of the Year. Amazing under the circumstances.
Exactly. When he replaced Fitz, like David who? Who's this guy? And then he came in and won 8 ball games with that group. So he had them believing in what they wanted to do and went out there and were successful. But I, like you, am excited to go to Wrigley. Last year, Iowa, the Hawkeyes played Northwestern at Wrigley, and they had both teams on the same sideline, This year, they're not going to sell as many seats, so they're going to have both the teams on different sidelines, which, I think adds to it a little bit. But that's going to be kind of one of those historic
Buckeye fans will love Wrigleyville. Yeah,
they will. They will. And it's going to be a lot of fun to go there and play Northwestern.
Real quickly here, fellas, with this new expanded Big Ten and without divisions, I mean, you have to look at things realistic, but chances that, Purdue's and Northwesterns of the world are ever going to sniff Indianapolis
That's what's going to be hard, because we've seen it. Both, 2 years ago, Purdue got there and played Michigan. Northwestern a couple of times, playing Ohio State. It's going to be harder for some of those programs to be able to get there.
Coming up, Indiana and the team up north as our season kickoff show continues.
You're listening to the Season Kickoff Show, presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready?
It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right. Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles. From biking to bench presses, Milk's protein helps you build lean muscle and gain more from your workouts.
Ready? Recover. Repeat. Brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Come on over to Heartland.
Now, to run a successful business, you need to develop a strong relationship with your accountant, your attorney, and most importantly, your community banker. If you find it hard to get advice from your bank, maybe it's time to consider Heartland. I'm Scott McComb, CEO. Come on over to Heartland, where banking really feels good.
Rare banking feels good. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Bob's Discount Furniture, when you find a complete dining set that seats 6 and comes with an extendable leaf for only $5.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a sofa that doubles as a chaise, and a bed, and storage like my Playscape for only $9.99.
Oh my, Bob.
And a queen mattress with world-famous Papa-Pedic memory foam and an 18-year warranty like my Treasure for only $7.99.
Oh my, Bob.
Well, there's only one thing to say.
Oh my, Bob.
Bob's Discount Furniture, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
In partnership with AEP, Donato's, Huntington, Kroger, The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, and 10 TV, Ohio State Athletics strives to inspire the community to make a positive impact on children and families in the great state of Ohio through our Buckeyes Care initiative. Buckeyes Care is dedicated to fostering a caring community. The goal of Buckeyes Care is to build a culture of care, one Buckeye at a time. Show and share your support in the community by using the hashtag Buckeyes Care.
Hey, Buckeye fans, AEP Energy wants to know if you're ready to choose green and make an impact. Help bring 100% renewable energy to the homes and businesses of your community by enrolling in our low fixed price Eco Advantage plan today. Together, we can reduce our carbon footprint and supply clean energy for a brighter future. Visit aepenergy.com/OSU to get started. AEP Energy, the official electricity and natural gas sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. AEP Energy is a competitive retail electric and natural gas service provider and an affiliate of Ohio Power Company, AEP Ohio. AEP Energy is not soliciting on behalf of and is not an agent of AEP Ohio.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium Tours offers a variety of options and pricing that will meet your needs. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour of Ohio Stadium today.
The Fan. Ohio sports destination. You're listening to the Ohio State Sports Network. Presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Welcome back, everybody, into tonight's season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast. Along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels, I'm Skip Mosic. Our rundown of this year's opponents continues now with the Indiana Hoosiers. November 23rd, IU will be here, a new era of Indiana football under Curt Cignetti. This guy's done nothing but win. His first 3 stops as a head coach, it really kind of reminded me of the same path that Urban Meyer had when he became a head football coach. What will it take to get the job done at Indiana, or is it even doable?
Well, what Cignetti has done is brought a lot of his players from James Madison. He's also got a quarterback transfer, Curtis Rourke, who came from Ohio University. So the other thing we've seen with Indiana, they usually start off well, do well in their non-conference, and their schedule allows them this year to where it looks like they could get to October or so, maybe with 1 loss. But can they stay healthy? The injuries have crippled them in the past.
Yeah, he comes from a football family, Cignetti. His father, Frank, was, in the College Football Hall of Fame at IUP over there in Western Pennsylvania. So, he's, well known there amongst the Pennsylvania people and is a heck of a football coach. His brother's been in the NFL, Frank Jr., for a long time. So they're a football family, and, so I got a lot of respect for what he's able to do. And then, over there in Harrisburg, Virginia, what he did with James Madison, had some fantastic years the last couple of years. And, the Sun Belt, we talk about that Sun Belt Conference, Coach of the Year. So he's got an opportunity to take this team to that next level. And, if you look at their schedule, it's not too bad. It's kind of favorable. They open up with FIU, Western Illinois, then, at UCLA, Charlotte. So, they could win some games early. And for them to be bowl eligible would be a great year.
Brought in a lot of players, as mentioned, from James Madison, but they also get a transfer quarterback in Curtis Rourke from Ohio, where he had some huge passing numbers.
He certainly did. And we've seen that Indiana has had talented quarterbacks, some that have even gone to the NFL. But keeping a quarterback healthy, I saw where Brendan Sorsby, who was their starter last year, is going to be a Cincinnati Bearcat. So, and they're trying to work the transfer portal. And, a school like Indiana, it's a challenge for them.
Yeah, remember Antoine Randall L? He could make some plays. And, this is a 30th head coach at Indiana. So they've kind of burned through some coaches. We've seen at least a half dozen of them since we've been doing this. So, yeah, they're trying to find some stability in their football program. And, Tom Allen was a guy that, was from Indiana, from that area, well-known high school coach, defensive-minded, just didn't get it done. And, as we mentioned, now the coordinator at Penn State.
All right, regular season finale, as it always is against Michigan. We all know what's happened the last 3 years. Still waiting to see what transpires with the Steinstein stealing. But regardless, Jim Harbaugh's gone. Sharon Moore is the man in charge. Paul had a chance to visit with Wolverine radio analyst John Jansen.
Well, John, usually when there's a new head coach, there's always the concern about what's new or what's different. Is some of that tamped down a little bit because Sharon Moore's actually been in this capacity and was for a few times during last season?
It certainly is. And, a lot of it, especially at the college level, comes down to relationships. And Sharon Moore has relationships with all the kids, especially those on offense, but he's helped recruit some of the guys on defense. And as O-line coach or tight end coach, over the past few years, coordinator, he's obviously interacted with everybody on the roster. So he's very familiar with the talent that he inherited and now the responsibilities of game day. He was in that position 4 times last year as interim head coach or standing in as head coach, whatever we're calling it. But as you know, Paul, there are there's so much. The scope of being a college football coach is so great right now that they, at times, don't actually get to coach, and there's so much going on. So that's been a bit of a challenge. But in regards to the players, there's great familiarity, and I think that will show in some continuity that they're able to have.
Well, there's two new coordinators. We'll start on the offensive side with Kirk Campbell. John, just your thoughts on what he has to do and what he has to deal with, given the fact that a quarterback's being replaced and a large part of the offensive line's being replaced.
Well, I mean, the offensive line to me is going to be the biggest challenge because, 6 guys, you had 5 starters and 1 reserve that are now going to be playing on Sundays, or at least had the chance to play on Sundays. So you've got to replace the entirety of it. And on top of that, the signal caller, the guy that's got to understand where the blitzes are coming from, who's picked up, who's not, who's hot, who's not, when am I hot. All of those different things are going to provide huge challenges for Kirk Campbell. But Kirk Campbell was the quarterback's coach last year. He's been with the program for a couple of years, so he understands whether it's Davis Warren, Alex Orji, it's Jack Tuttle. He's very familiar with the skill sets of these players. They didn't bring in a transfer, somebody that had to learn the offense, that had to learn terminology or understand how Kirk operates. Again, familiarity is really the key for having some continuity on an offense when you're replacing so many playmakers, even in the backfield with Donovan Edwards still there. You're without Blake Corum. You're without Cornelius Johnson outside. You're without Rome. So it's all of these things are huge challenges, but you've got a coach that has been there and knows where to pick up where everybody is left off.
On the other side, you've got Don Martindale taking over on the defensive side. And there's still, John, it seems to be, and Don has a wealth of experience, but there also are some experienced pieces that he has to work with. Is that a fair read?
Oh, it is. And when you talk about, Michigan had 13 draft picks last year, only 1 first-rounder in JJ. This year, the top-end talent is there. Maybe not the bulk of talent, or at least unproven talent, but with Will Johnson at one corner, a lot of people think he's a first-rounder and maybe the best defensive back in the country, and it's all debatable. And then you've got Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. There's really good talent defensively. And, again, even though it's a different face, it's a different coach, the scheme is largely the same because whether it was Mike McDonald 3 years ago, Jesse Minter for the last 2 years, they both learned how to call defenses, how to operate as a coordinator from Coach Martindale.
John, I've asked everybody about this, but this new Big Ten, and when you look at Michigan's schedule, playing Texas, obviously outside of the conference, but also getting USC, just kind of what's your feeling, being a guy that's been around the traditional Big Ten for so long, what this new world is like?
It's very weird, and I don't know how else to say it because there are some exciting matchups, and I know you guys are going to go out to Oregon. That's a place I've never been. I played in Seattle, but I haven't played at the College of Washington. And so there's some intrigue, there's some newness, and that'll be fun. I'm not a huge fan of college kids going coast to coast multiple times during the year other than bowl games. So it'll be interesting to see how it works itself out. But in regards to the matchups, in conference, to know that you're going to get a chance to play USC, to Oregon, Washington, UCLA, it's good for the conference. It's going to be huge for the TV contracts that are here now or still to come. I'm really interested to see how this works out for the athletes.
John Jansen, Michigan Radio Network, similar to here, fellows, when Ryan Day took over after being acting head coach for a few games the previous year. It's going to be the same situation up there with Coach Moore. Michigan loaded with seniors last year. Lots to replace, I guess, beginning with the quarterback. Beginning
with one of the best defensive lines in the country. But as we all know, there's still a cloud hanging over that football program. There are still those, though, however, that feel they're not a team to sleep on as far as the national picture.
Now, you mentioned that defensive line. They still have Mason Graham back, and I think he's probably the best defensive tackle in the Big Ten. Kenneth Grant, another guy that will be on that defensive line. And then they got Donovan Edwards, an experienced type guy. So They're defending national champs, and I know that Buckeyes have that last game circled, highlighted.
Yeah, Texas, USC, and Oregon are all at home for Michigan. They have to go to Washington, and then obviously their toughest road games are going to be down here in Columbus to end the regular season. In this new era of expanded CFP, no divisions in the Big Ten, could definitely see a team 2 or 3 times in a season. I mean, Jim, similar to your days in the NFL. I mean, heck, it would have happened last year.
No, it would have. You know, you'd have seen Ohio State play them again if they were in that 12-team playoff, so an opportunity to play them again. And, yeah, I mean, it's...
Following week, I would have been...
You know the guys. I mean, you have to go out there and you change a few things up. And, I remember the old days playing the Giants, twice a year in the Eagles, and, man, they would know all of our calls. The ball's coming right here, and you're like, how does they know that? But
they wouldn't need to steal the signs.
No, they wouldn't need them. They would have them.
Coming up, we'll circle back and talk some more about this year's Ohio State team as our season kickoff show continues.
More of the season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast coming up on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Bob Evans asks, who will be the superior side? Is it the rich, creamy, indulgent classic Bob Evans mashed potatoes? Or is it that decadent union of pasta and cheese, Bob Evans mac and cheese? Is it farm fresh potatoes blended with real milk and butter for that just like homemade taste? Or is it the melting, gooey goodness of tender elbow macaroni smothered in real cheese sauce? Both are ready in just minutes. So, which delicious side will you choose? Find Bob Evans in the refrigerated section.
Hi, this is Paul Keels. This Buckeye season, don't let a broken windshield ruin your game plan. Safelite Auto Glass makes it easy to get your windshield fixed with their mobile glass shops all over Central Ohio. They can come to you anywhere, giving Buckeye fans more time for game time. OH? Man, I love that. Schedule at safelite.com. Safelite Auto Glass is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Safelite repair, Safelite replace.
The drums bang, the flame sparks, the trumpets blow, the hot dogs sizzle, the crowd cheers, the fans eat. The sounds of Buckeye football are synonymous with the best damn band in the land in the stadium and the Weber Grills outside the stadium. Weber is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. To celebrate another season, Weber is launching a limited edition Ohio State grill, inspired by our Buckeye helmets. Get the best damn grill in the land at Ohio area retailers near you ahead of the football season.
Ready?
It doesn't matter if you're playing hard or working hard. Your workout only works out if you recover right. Chocolate milk helps you recover for what comes next. It's delicious and contains the right mix of protein and carbs to help refuel exhausted muscles. From biking to bench presses, Milk's protein helps you build lean muscle and gain more from your workouts.
Ready? Recover. Repeat. Brought to you by the American Dairy Association Mideast, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
AgPro has been family-owned and operated for over 64 years. We take pride in developing long-lasting relationships and offering first-class customer service. Need a new tractor, parts for your used equipment, or reliable service? AgPro has you covered. AgPro is here to serve you and your operation as your hometown dealer. Visit us today at any of our AgPro locations or go online to agproco.com to get started with your AgPro experience.
The best outcomes for treating cancer come from early detection and early diagnosis.
The James Cancer Diagnostic Center at Ohio State is designed
to provide rapid evaluation and a clear diagnosis.
We are transforming care by giving patients direct access
to cancer experts who study and treat cancer every day.
If you think you have cancer, the choice is clear.
Choose the James Cancer Diagnostic Center.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Your home for Ohio State Athletics, The Fan. This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State Athletics.
Welcome back, everybody. Our season kickoff show presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast, along with Jim Lachey and Paul Keels. I'm Skip Mosic. Expectations so high for this football team. Let's talk offense real quickly. What will Will Howard bring to the quarterback position, at least part of what was missing maybe last year?
The threat of the run, and it's something that he did very well at Kansas State, something really we've not seen on a regular basis since J.T. Barrett, or well, Justin Fields, excuse me. But that's probably the biggest thing, and the experience that he brings to the position.
Yeah, I think as you hit it on the head, he's got the ability to make some plays with his feet. C.J. Stroud, God love him, he was great, but there would be 10 yards of open field to go get a first down, and he would hold it, and usually get to completion for the first down, where he could have ran it. The threat of having a running quarterback, it makes the defense have to defend all 11 guys. It just makes it a little bit tougher, knowing that you got a guy that can do it. And, I was out there at practice when he took off and ran for 80 yards and reached 22 miles an hour. He's got the wheels that can do it. He's lost about 5-10 pounds, so he's got himself in a good shape. But he's got competition behind him. You know what I mean? Don't go to sleep on Devin Brown. Don't go to sleep on Julian saying, both those guys can make some plays. And, so I would hope these first 3 games we get an opportunity to see a couple of those guys, get an opportunity to come in and get a few series of meaningful reps. All the guys, not just, the second team offensive line, the second, the third, fourth tight end, the second team running backs, now you had James People and Sam Williams-Dixon. Both the guys are true freshmen. They're counting on him, because, the old saying, a pair and a spare, you got to have some guys that can come in and back it up. But offensively, I'm excited to see Chip Kelly, calling these plays, dialing them up. As you heard from Ryan Day, they kind of had a new voice in there and some new eyes to watch what they've been doing in the past. So I think that's going to help. And obviously it's going to change how defensive coordinators prepared for Ohio State when Ryan Day was calling plays all those years. It's going to be a little bit different feeling with Chip Kelly back there doing it. Whether they go fast tempo, which we've seen him do in 2010 in Oregon when he was a head coach, did a little bit of that at UCLA, but he kind of changed at UCLA. He was more of a ground and pound type guy with the personnel that he had.
Defense, you mentioned it, secondary, definitely some talent added in the back end.
No question. And, Denzel Burke was one of those key people coming back to play. And, certainly getting the turnovers. And we've seen, the other guy's going to be Lathan Ransom. He's had to fight through injuries, but when he's been healthy, we've shown what he's done. And if that front line can put the pressure on the quarterbacks to force them into bad positions, that's maybe where there's some apples that can be picked off the tree.
Ryan,
I've been very impressed, too, with Davidson Igmanosin. Last year he came in and started, across from Denzel Burke, and both those guys did a great job. But this year it seems to take his games up to the next level. And every time I go out to practice, and I've probably been to 10 of their 14 practices or 15 practices they've had, he's full of energy. I mean, he's bringing it every single day. He's talking. He's getting guys fired up. And he says that kind of gets him fired up. So I'm excited to see him play. Obviously, adding a guy like Caleb Downs, kind of the quarterback of the defense, getting everybody lined up, is going to be critical for this team. But, Malik Harford, Jordan Hancock, last year. So that back seven has it. Sonny Styles, moving down from that safety position into linebacker is going to be key. C.J. Hicks, will get some playing time too. Arvell Reese looks like he's the real deal. And, of course, Cody Simon, who was awarded the Zero Blocko jersey for Ohio State, so they got a lot of respect for him, also became a captain, so he's looking forward to having a breakout year.
Obviously embraced his role as far as stepping up as leader there on that defense.
Yes, he's been a needed piece over the last couple of years, really.
We hear all the noise, okay? Obviously the team's going to hear the noise too. Can there be too much pressure on winning if that's even a thing?
Probably, but it skipped to even dovetail off that question. You know what a lot of people, and I know it'll sound like Ron Stokes, when he talks about in the barbershop, all the questions he gets. Most people seem to want to make this a one-game season. They want to talk about that game at the end of November. And, yeah, there's a lot of built-up frustration about what's happened over the last 3 years, but a lot of the angst and a lot of the anticipation really looks past what's going on. Yeah, everybody will get jacked up about the Oregon game, but there's a lot of that. And a lot of what you were asking about, Skip, that points toward that game against Michigan.
Yeah, and again, that's going to be the bottom line, the key. I haven't handed out a pair of gold pants since 2019. I mean, that seems,
we're busy for a couple of decades.
That's a day. Well, we're every year. So this year, and again, the reason why a lot of these guys come back was for that opportunity to win that game. So, yeah, the pressure is going to be on that last one, but all of them, everybody wants a chance to knock off Ohio State. How many times have we seen fans, when Ohio State does lose a game, rush the field. I mean, every single time in the Big Ten. So everybody's going to have that one, understand, when you got the Buckeyes coming to town. Great thing is you got 8 home games on the schedule. You got, 4 road games. So Penn State on the road, that's never easy, although it doesn't sound like that's going to be a whiteout type game. Oregon on the road will be tough, with that environment. But then you got Michigan State and then you got Northwestern. So you got to take care of all your games at home and, dominate on the road.
Paul Keels and Jim Lachey, the Columbus Aganis Club Persons of the Year for this past. Congratulations, fellas.
Thank you.
Again, all of our regular season programming begins next week. Buckeye Roundtable next Monday night. Ryan Day Show next Thursday. And obviously the opener against Akron on the 31st. 3:30 kickoff at Ohio Stadium. Our season kickoff show has been presented by the American Dairy Association Mideast and brought to you statewide by Encova Insurance and by your Central Ohio Toyota dealers. For Bodie Wells and for Jim Lachey and Paul Keels, I'm Skip Mosic. As always, thank you for listening. This is the Ohio State Sports Network presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State athletics.
Integrity, honesty, and quality. Words we live by here at Monogram Homes. Hi, this is Dina, and at Monogram Homes, we strive to bring your wants to your man cave, your needs to your kitchen, and your ideas to life. Most home builders claim to be custom, but starting with stock floor plans and templates isn't our idea of a tailored experience. At Monogram Homes, we start with a blank slate and work with you until you get exactly what you want. So start your true custom home journey today with a builder you can trust. Monogram Homes. Visit us online at monogramhomes.net.
Everyone has that one goal, that thing they want to prove, not to other people, but to themselves. Then, right when you think you could actually do it, cancer. And that goal is still within reach. I would know. I'm about to run my first ever marathon with my 2 best friends. 3 years after having cancer.
At least we look good in these shorts.
Woo! Let's get it, guys. You, keep making plans.
Visit ohiohealth.com/keepmakingplans to learn more. Wake up. Breakfast. And Nature Made vitamins. Whatever your morning sounds like, Nature Made fits right in. Whether you're looking for vitamin C or a multivitamin to get key nutrients, we've got you covered. Now that's a good morning. We take care of you so you can take on your day. Start your day with Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you and your family lose Ohio Medicaid and need health coverage? Check this out. You may be eligible to enroll in a low-cost health plan at healthcare.gov. With the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov offers quality plans that cover doctor visits, prescriptions, emergency care, and more. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human